Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery discussion for Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you have not read this book, I will link my spoiler-free review on the screen. So, like I mentioned in my review, this book has a plot that's like kind of flimsy and I don't really care about. I'll talk about it maybe a little bit at the end, and the world building is nothing new from what we know from like the Infernal Devices or anything else that you've read in the Shadowhunter world. So this discussion is really just going to be a discussion of the characters and their dynamics. And that's all I'm really going to talk about here. So in case you aren't aware, the only other series I've read by Cassandra Clare was the Infernal Devices, and that's the only reason that I then read this series. I don't have any interest in the Mortal Instruments, I don't have any interest in the Dark Artifices, I don't plan on reading them. I only really read these books because they're angsty and the time period that they're set in. I have no interest in modern day Shadowhunter anything. So first I want to discuss our main character in my opinion, and also I think the book's opinion because she is on the cover, and that is Cordelia. Cordelia was my favorite character in the book. I just really liked her instantly. She was just like kind of fish out of water, was trying to get to know everybody and was just trying her best, and she just has a really good heart and I just really enjoy her. I love that she has Cortana, that magical sword that is, you know, the way that it is because of the smith that made it, and it's different than other Shadowhunter swords. I love that she had it. I love the story of how she got it. I love that it's basically a lightsaber because there are multiple scenes where she like holds up her hand and it comes directly to her, and that's such like a lightsaber thing, force thing to do. So I really love that she has that sword. It's like my favorite weapon within this series now, and I just really enjoyed her. I enjoyed her dynamic with James. That was the angsty kind of romance relationship that I was looking for, and that whole like miscommunication and everything that's going on, the fact that there's like a magical roadblock to their relationship. I enjoyed all of that. I liked her relationship with Lucy and her as the parabatai. I think she might mature Lucy a bit as well. I like her dynamic with basically everyone else. I like her mild flirtation pointing out how attractive Anna is. I want something to happen there potentially, but I'll get to Anna in a second. I just liked everything about Cordelia. James is one of our other main characters. I was a little leery about him because he's a Herondale, and Herondales and me, I know everyone loves Herondales. I don't get along with them typically speaking because I didn't love Will in the first series. I liked him more from like halfway through book 2 on. I don't like hate Will, but I didn't like him in the first book. So I was really kind of like leery of James because I'm like, is he gonna be just like broody and just misunderstanding and everything? And he has a bit of that, but generally speaking I did like him, and I liked the scenes with him and Cordelia, the whispering room, the dance, all of that stuff when the bracelet is off with Grace. But the thing that kind of threw me off is actually like the first few, like probably 50 pages, because of the amount of characters, I got confused and between Grace and Cordelia because of Cordelia's nickname of Daisy. So just like for a while I thought Grace was Cordelia and that everything was gonna work out, and then I was like, wait, Grace has this magical bond over him, he's under a spell, and all of that. So that kind of threw me off. So obviously, like most people, I don't like him until when he's under the Grace spell because we know it's fake. We know that she doesn't even want him to be under it, and it's just it's bringing all that like, I'm only supposed to be in love with one person, so of course I love Grace because I'm a Herondale and we only love once, which I think is a thing I don't like. It's supposed to sound really romantic, but it's just like that only loving once thing I think is a problematic theme, but I'll let it go for this. So he obviously loves Cordelia, but Grace is this, you know, magical barrier to that. And then Lucy, of the three mains, was my least favorite. I still like her because she has death magic, and you know how I feel about death magic. So when she started seeing Jesse, I was like, I'm intrigued about this, but I'm not sure how I feel about him. And they're dynamic because there's supposed to be a huge age gap, and now there's not going to be because Jesse's obviously going to be brought back to life at some point. So that was an interesting little loophole there. But when she was able to use her like ghost powers to command all of the like the ghost army to kind of help her and save Cordelia and all of that, love that. Love me some death magic. Which is also why like between James and Lucy, as far as the plot stuff, the fact that their grandfather is targeting James more than Lucy, I'm like, Lucy has the stronger powers. Like, I don't know why you're targeting James so much. I mean, he can come into the world and stuff, but like Lucy's powers seem stronger. So I'm not really sure why you're doing that, but whatever. My goal and hope for that is that at the very end it's going to be Lucy, James, Cordelia defeating the big bad Prince of Hell with the siblings teaming up, and then Cortana, and then like everything will be blah. That's what I'm thinking right now based on book one. Now, as far as all of the other characters, Matthew I really enjoyed. He's just that kind of like snarky, you know, character that kind of falls in line with like, I would say like a Nikolai type character. He obviously has a lot of like former trauma, which people have told me now you hear about in the short stories. So that is weird that like we don't know about everything, but the short stories tell us, but I don't want to read the short stories and I shouldn't have to read the main books. I really resent when authors make novellas or short stories that should be part of the main books and then act like you don't have to read them when you do. But Matthew I like. I'm intrigued by him possibly also like having a crush on Cordelia. Like now that we have this fake married, although they really do love each other for a year thing with James and Cordelia, and now Matthew is like making eyes. I don't know. I don't necessarily see there being the exact same kind of love triangle as there was in the Infernal Devices, but I'm intrigued by it. I'm fine with everyone kissing. Speaking of everyone kissing, Anna is probably my second favorite character of these new characters. I just love her. I love the way she dresses. I love the dresses that she sent Cordelia. I love that her and Cordelia have this like intrigue with each other, which makes me kind of be like, will you guys kiss? It's kind of what I hope. I know Anna has something going on with Ariadne, and that was probably also in a short story, I think someone told me, but I'm intrigued by her and Cordelia's little bit of dynamic. I want to see more Anna. One complaint that I had about how long this was is like there's not enough Anna for how long this is. Then we have Thomas, and Thomas was a character I also enjoyed. I like the like big strong buff man is really soft cinnamon roll inside. Like that's really cute. He's just very kind and nice. And his dynamic with Alistair I'm like intrigued by, but right now I'm not sure how I feel about Alistair. I think Alistair will obviously find redemption within the series, but I don't love the whole like I was bullied so I'm gonna bully back. I forgive it more because he was bullied in a racist way, so like go off dude, but also like then he was saying that Thomas was like a product of incest. It doesn't match up a ton for me. So I could be okay with the Thomas Alistair, but Alistair has to do some redemption first, so hopefully he'll come into the fold eventually. I did like Alistair as a bigger brother though, and being defensive of Cordelia and hiding her from their father's just misdeeds. That was okay. That endeared me to him, but I still am not in a good spot with Alistair. Christopher I found mostly forgettable. He's just kind of like, you know, the inventor of this series and stuff, and that's very cute, but overall I'm just kind of like, okay, you're there for, you know, making the weapons and fixing things and the poisons and all of that. I get where your role is in the series. And then as far as the villains, Grace and Tatiana, they're kind of the tie-in to Great Expectations and Miss Havisham and all of that, but Tatiana was a character that I forgot about from the Infernal Devices, and just the fact that she is very similar to the villain in the Infernal Devices, where it's like, a few shadow hunters wronged me, mostly my family, and now I want all shadow hunters to die. I'm like, I don't love these motivations. You seem very like two-dimensional, not fully fleshed out, mustache twirling if you had a mustache. Not really into it. Grace, I think, is going to have some kind of like redemption thing. So obviously like it sounds like she brings up a lot that she doesn't want to be doing these things, that people don't understand what she's sacrificing, and Kay, like I don't care a ton. I don't like her, but I think ultimately there's going to be some kind of redemption where maybe she's going to sacrifice herself for them or whatever. But maybe after Jesse comes back, because I do think Jesse is obviously going to come back. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Maybe Lucy will use her powers in some way now that the breath is gone, but obviously he's going to be a character that comes back, so maybe we find some redemption for Grace through that. But I don't think that she's a character that's going to be wholly evil the way that Tatiana is. I think she's going to actually end up being a character that gets redeemed at some point, possibly dies, who knows, but she'll be around for a bit. Really annoying right now though, because it's just like this obstacle in James's way and turning him into a person that like doesn't even know his own mind, which sucks. The other thing, and the reason that I feel like no one should jump into this without having read the Infernal Devices, was the reappearance of the Infernal Devices characters in this. So I really loved the Will, Tessa, Jem moments, like when Will's parents died and Jem came and they all were, you know, together. That was really sweet. I liked seeing that. I cared a little bit less about the moments with like Tessa and Will, because again, of the triangle, I preferred Tessa and Jem, but I actually overall prefer them all together. So I don't really care about like their, you know, moments. I mean, I'm glad they're happy. I love Tessa as a character, but just like, I didn't need to see as much of them as I probably did see, but I liked the mention of them and some of the other characters too. But it's just like a lot of characters to keep track of and how everyone was related and all of that. One thing I did find surprising was how often Jem was around, because in the epilogue for Clockwork Princess, I just feel like they hadn't all seen each other for like ever, and you know, like he's not around and they don't see him and whatever, and it's like he's around like every other day. He has a relationship with their kids, like he's training James, he's there, and they all are calling him Jem. So it's like, that kind of was surprising to me, and I just kind of didn't quite like it, because based on what the epilogue said in the last series, like they weren't really supposed to have all this contact, and apparently they are. They're seeing him all the time, which is angsty, but like they're not really bringing up quite how angsty it is, and it's just, I don't know. Obviously I liked seeing Magnus Bane. When I was like 400 pages in and Magnus hadn't appeared, I'm like, where is Magnus? Like, because they had mentioned him a few times and I'm like, when's he coming around? And I think what I liked about him too is like, he's just this character that has been around in all the books, and he's really good friends with their like parents and stuff, but he's also like, I want to stay around for the drama. Like he was seeing relationship dynamics and he's like, I'm gonna stay around to get this drama. So I loved that about him. What I will say, and I mentioned this in our live show for House Salt Book Club, because this was House Salt's book club pick this month, so I'll link our discussion on the screen. I'll be talking a lot about the same stuff that I'm saying now, but you'll get to hear also everyone else's opinions and other theories and things like that. But it is kind of odd to watch this character years in the past and know that in present day he's with somebody that's like present day years old, like who he's with now, you know, and just being like, but you hung out with their ancestors. And like knowing that about immortal romances, and just like knowing that in theory and then seeing it in practice, makes it a little weird. I don't think Magnus Bane's creepy. I don't have any opinions really about that romance or anything, because I've never gotten to see it. I'm not a fan of the Mortal Instruments. I'm not reading them. But like, it is just kind of being like, ugh, to like see, like you hung out with our ancestors and now you're hanging out with them. I don't know, man. It's just like, it just throws me off a bit. But yeah, loved seeing him. Love that he's around. He's a great addition to the series always, and he's just one of my favorites, like he was in the Infernal Devices. So lastly, just to wrap up with the plot, like I said, I feel like the villain is going to be pretty ineffective. I hope that James and Cordelia and Lucy team up to defeat the big bad. You know, Prince of Hell, all of that. Like, I just don't really care about the plot much, though, for these books. Like, I just care about the relationship dynamics, and the plot is just a way to kind of, like, push people together. So that's all I really care about. Like, in other books, I would complain about that, but these books, I go into it for that, knowing that's gonna happen, knowing it's a CW TV show type situation, and everyone's pretty in love. So I'm totally fine with that. So I do plan on continuing with the series. I gave it 3.75 out of 5 stars, which kind of tracks with how I felt about the Infernal Devices. I'm pretty sure I gave book 1 3 stars, and then they went up from there. And I think they were 3 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars, possibly 4.5 stars. So I will continue with the series. I want to see who gets together, because apparently the original family tree that was out after the last series might be inaccurate now, because she's changing some things and retconning some things because of this new series that she originally didn't plan on writing. So I'm interested to see all of that, and I don't want to get spoiled for any of what is in the family tree, so don't tell me, because I don't want to know. But all of that, I'm interested just to see them get together, who gets together, who's friends, this little friend group I like. So I'll be continuing on with this series. So comment down below, let me know your thoughts on Chain of Gold. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.